It wasn't my speech, it was the Prime Minister's.
Mr Speaker, the situation is serious. The last government lost control of the borders. We are taking powers. The Borders Bill, precisely to his point, the Borders Bill is the first bill to give terrorism-like powers to law enforcement, precisely so that we can get in before the crimes are committed, before people get to this country. That's right. This is the most far-reaching provision ever for law enforcement to defend and secure our borders. And that's why it is extraordinary that he, of all people, voted against it. And sooner or later he's going to explain it.
Right. Imagine waking up one Sunday morning, having your cup of tea, maybe planning a nice roast dinner later, when suddenly you realize that for the sixth weekend in a row, thousands of people are marching through your town because the government has decided, without asking anyone, to house 600 migrant men in a former army barracks on your doorstep. Not consulted, not informed properly, just told it is happening whether you like it or not. Welcome to Crowborough, East Sussex, where Sir Keir Starmer's immigration policy has turned a quiet market town into the front line of Britain's asylum chaos. And the best part? The Home Office thinks moving migrants from one controversial barracks to another counts as solving the problem. This is not governance. This is migrant hokey cokey, and the British public has had enough. Quick favor. If you are already fuming about this absolute shambles and want to stay updated on all the political disasters Westminster keeps serving up, hit that subscribe button and smash the bell icon. Over 94% of you legends have not subscribed yet. It is free, takes 2 seconds, and honestly means a world to us here at British Mirror. Cheers if you did. Right, let us dive into this chaos. So here's the situation. Crowborough, a town of about 20,000 people nestled in the Sussex countryside, have become ground zero for what locals are calling an invasion of their community. For 6 consecutive Sundays, thousands of residents have marched through their own streets, protesting the government's decision to house 600 single migrant men at a former army cadet base. Now, before anyone starts screaming about racism or xenophobia, let us be absolutely clear about what is actually happening here. These are not people protesting against immigration in principle. These are parents, grandparents, local business owners, and lifelong residents who are terrified because their government has unilaterally decided to dump hundreds of unknown men into their community without any consultation, without proper safeguarding measures, and without giving a single damn about how it might affect the people who actually live there. The protests are not small affairs either. We are talking about up to 4,000 people gathering outside the camp gates before marching into the town centre. Families carrying signs saying not racist, just afraid, and protect our women and girls. People draped in Union Jacks and Sussex flags. Chants of whose streets? Our streets. And Crowborough says no, echoing through what used to be a peaceful market town. This is not a fringe movement. This is not a handful of far-right agitators. This is an entire community rising up and saying enough is enough. But here is where it gets properly mental. The Daily Mail has revealed that around 100 of these migrants are being moved from another controversial site, Napier Barracks in Folkestone, Kent, which is finally closing this week. Now, Napier Barracks has been an absolute disaster from day one. It has been plagued with problems, complaints, controversies, and has been widely criticized as completely unsuitable for housing asylum seekers. So what is the government's brilliant solution? Move those same people to another army barracks 50 miles away in Crowborough. Problem solved. Right? Wrong. Spectacularly, catastrophically wrong. One source at Napier Barracks described the situation perfectly. It is migrant hokey cokey. It is madness, really. It is moving from one problem to another. And honestly, that might be the most accurate description of British immigration policy I have ever heard. You put your migrants in, you take your migrants out, you put your migrants in, and you shake them all about. You do the hokey cokey and you turn around, and that is what it is all about. Except it is not funny. It is not a dance. It is people's lives, communities, and a complete breakdown of any pretense that the government has a clue what it is doing. Peter Buckledge, a Crowborough town councillor, summed up the local fury brilliantly. He said the Home Office is playing fast and loose with everyone, that they think they can do whatever they want, and it is not right. He pointed out that Crowborough is not an anti-migrant place, but residents have grave concerns, and the way the Home Office has handled this is totally wrong. The system is in chaos. There is no solution. And you know what? He is absolutely right. This is not about people being inherently against helping refugees or asylum seekers. This is about a government that treats its own citizens with utter contempt, that makes decisions affecting entire communities without any meaningful consultation, and then acts shocked when those communities push back. The protests have been largely peaceful, though police have had to intervene at points. Earlier this week, local residents actually blocked the gates to the camp, preventing staff from leaving. Now, that is how angry people are. They are literally putting their bodies in the way because they feel like nobody in power is listening to them. One protester dressed up as Santa carrying a naughty list with Keir Starmer and local Green councillor Rachel Millwood on it, which is both hilarious and deeply sad at the same time. Imagine being so frustrated with your elected representatives that you have to dress as Father Christmas to try to get their attention. Ryan Holden, one of the protest organizers, said this is a massive protest against what is being done to them without their say. He understands they are getting 100 migrants from Kent soon, and he called it a disgrace. And you know what? It is a disgrace. Not because of the migrants themselves, most of whom are probably just caught up in a broken system through no fault of their own, but because of how the government is handling this. Dumping large numbers of single men into small communities without proper integration plans, without adequate security measures, without even bothering to properly inform or consult with local residents, is not compassionate asylum policy. It is political cowardice dressed up as virtue. Let us talk about what Crowborough is actually dealing with here. This is not a big city with established migrant communities, extensive social services, and infrastructure designed to handle sudden population increases. This is a market town of 20,000 people, housing 600 additional men, all of whom will need support services, healthcare, legal assistance, and potentially language classes, is going to put enormous strain on local resources. GP surgeries are already overwhelmed, schools that are already full, police services that are already stretched thin. And when local residents raise these perfectly legitimate concerns, they get called racist. They get told they are unwelcoming. They get accused of lacking compassion. It is absolutely maddening. The families carrying those signs saying protect our women and girls are being dismissed as bigots by people who have never had to deal with the reality of what happens when you suddenly introduce hundreds of young men from completely different cultural backgrounds into a small community with no integration plan whatsoever. Are all these migrants dangerous? Of course not. Are most of them probably just desperate people looking for safety? Almost certainly. But does that mean communities have no right to be concerned about safeguarding? Does that mean parents have no right to worry about their children's safety? Does that mean women have no right to feel anxious about walking home at night past a camp housing 600 men they know nothing about? Apparently, according to our political class, the answer is yes. Your concerns do not matter. Your feelings are invalid. Shut up and accept it. And here's the thing that really gets me. The Home Office released a statement saying they are furious at the level of illegal migrants in asylum hotels, that this government will close every asylum hotel, and that more suitable sites are being brought forward. Furious. They are furious. As if they are not the ones in charge. As if they are not the government actually making these decisions. As if they are innocent bystanders watching someone else create this mess. It is like an arsonist standing in front of a burning building saying, I am absolutely furious about this fire. Well, mate, you are holding the jerry can and the matches. Labour campaigned on fixing the broken asylum system. They promised to clear the backlog. They promised to end the use of hotels. They promised sensible, managed immigration. And what have they delivered? Moving migrants from one controversial barracks to another, continuing to house people in completely inappropriate accommodation, ignoring local communities, and wondering why people are taking to the streets in protest. This is not the compassionate, well-managed immigration system they promised. This is the same chaos we had under the Conservatives, just with different people making excuses for it. The thing is, there are perfectly reasonable solutions to this. You could spread asylum seekers across the country in smaller numbers, so no single community bears a disproportionate burden. You could actually invest in proper integration programs. You could work with local councils to identify suitable accommodation that does not completely overwhelm local services. You could, and here's a radical thought, actually consult with communities before dumping hundreds of people on their doorstep. But none of that is happening because it is easier to just find empty buildings, stick people in them, and hope the problem goes away. What is happening in Crowborough is a microcosm of everything wrong with British immigration policy. A system so broken, so chaotic, so divorced from reality that it treats both asylum seekers and host communities with equal contempt. Migrants are being housed in former army barracks that are completely unsuitable for long-term accommodation. Local communities are being ignored and dismissed when they raise legitimate concerns. And politicians in Westminster wonder why trust in the system has completely collapsed. The fact that this is the 6th consecutive Sunday that thousands of people have marched through Crowborough should tell you everything you need to know about how serious this is. People do not give up their Sundays week after week unless they are genuinely frightened and angry. These are not professional protesters. These are not rent-a-mob activists being bussed in from other places. These are local residents who are being pushed to breaking point by a government that refuses to listen. And let us be clear about what demanding Starmer steps down actually means. It is not just about one person. It is about an entire approach to governance that treats ordinary people as obstacles to be managed rather than citizens to be respected. It is about a political class that makes decisions in London and expects everyone else to just deal with the consequences. It is about a system where if you live in a wealthy area, you can probably avoid having a migrant camp on your doorstep, but if you live in places like Crowborough, you get whatever the Home Office decides to dump on you. The Home Office claims they are working closely with local authorities and property partners to accelerate delivery of better solutions. But Crowborough's experience suggests otherwise. Local councillors say they are not being properly informed. Residents say they are being ignored. This is not just about Crowborough. This is happening in towns across Britain. Small communities are being used as dumping grounds for a failed asylum system because it is politically easier than actually fixing the problem.